Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Gary Lane. Today, more Hezbollah devices explode in Lebanon as Israel may be gearing up for an attack on Hezbollah. And Israel says it has stopped a plot by Iran to kill Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top leaders. All of this as the United Nations passes a vote against the Jewish state. We'll bring you the story from Jerusalem. Here at home, the Federal Reserve starts to cut interest rates, which could lead to lower costs for loans on houses, cars, and more, as the Fed tries to avoid a recession in the U.S. We'll bring you a look at how politicians in Washington are actually working together to protect children from the dangers they can encounter online. And our conversation with the author of a new book called The Trump Code, dealing with a populist president, Nikola Tesla, and 3 novels written over a century ago. It sounds like science fiction, but we'll hear how he ties it all together. Those stories and more today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin in the Middle East, where Israel and Hezbollah are keeping up their military strikes against each other. And electronic devices belonging to Hezbollah members exploded for a second day yesterday, leaving Lebanon in a panic. And as Israel is fighting wars against Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, the United Nations voted that Israel must leave biblical lands, including part of Jerusalem, and turn them over to the Palestinians. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Communications devices belonging to Hezbollah terrorists blew up in a second day of explosions on Wednesday. This attack targeting walkie-talkies after thousands of pagers blew up the day before. The Wednesday blasts killing more than 30 people and wounding 450. Hezbollah blames Israel for the explosions and says the Jewish nation will pay. At the same time, Israel says it thwarted an Iranian plot to assassinate its top leaders. Officials announcing the arrest of an Israeli citizen who had twice been smuggled to Iran to promote missions to kill Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other senior figures. This as Israel is shifting more resources for potential military action against Hezbollah. The 98th Infantry Division has been sent from Gaza to the northern border. Middle East analyst David Daoud told CBN's Faith Nation that diplomatic efforts have failed to end Hezbollah's threat.
What seems to remain is some kind of military action to push Hezbollah back from the border, to degrade its military capabilities. And I think we're starting to see the Israelis shift into that posture.
As the IDF focus shifts from Gaza to Lebanon, families of hostages held in Gaza worry if Hamas will ever free them.
Our greatest fear is that our loved ones, whether or those who are still might be alive or those who have already been murdered, will never come home.
And in New York, 2/3 of UN countries passed a resolution on Wednesday demanding Israel leave its biblical homeland of Judea and Samaria and eastern Jerusalem, also known as the West Bank, within the next 12 months. That would force more than 500,000 Jewish Israelis from their homes. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now from southern Israel near the border with Gaza. Chris, we'll talk about that UN vote in a moment, but first let me ask you, does it seem likely that these blasts in Lebanon are a first step toward an Israeli assault on Hezbollah?
Gary, it really does seem like it's a first step. There had been an idea that maybe this would be the first step if actually Israel went in militarily and that they would knock out all the communications of Hezbollah. But certainly what they're doing right now is disabling literally thousands of Hezbollah fighters. They're disrupting their communication. They're embarrassed right now. They're afraid. They don't know how they're going to communicate. The communications go back to landlines now, and we know they can be tapped or monitored even more easily. And that was the original reason for these beepers, is that they didn't want cell phones to track people. And so now they've gone to this, and this is just an unprecedented, not only cyber attack, but operation by, we presume, by the Mossad to go ahead and disrupt Hezbollah in a way that few people expected would be able to happen. I'm
sure many people there are getting rid of their pagers right about now. So, Chris, any idea what an Israeli attack on Hezbollah would look like?
Well, I think we can expect surprises, Gary. a couple of months ago when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was up on the north, he said, expect surprises. And I think what was seen in the past couple of days may be part of those surprises. I would expect probably, if they're going to attack from the air, from the land, from the sea, possibly paratroopers going in behind enemy lines. We also know, Gary, that they have tunnels, just as Hamas has had literally more than 400 miles of tunnels underneath the Gaza Strip. We know that perhaps even North Korea has been helping Hezbollah dig tunnels inside South Lebanon. So that presents another adversary or something that really Israel's going to have to deal with. But we know that they've been preparing for this for years. I remember talking to former IDF Chief of Staff Benny Gantz and talking about the intelligence they had there. And he said it was magnificent. And so they've been targeting ever since the 2006 Second Lebanon War. Israel has been preparing for the Third Lebanon War.
And they certainly learned a lot about tunnels in Gaza. That will definitely help them.
Exactly.
Here's some truckers there, too. You got some friends there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
Chris,
we're down here, not too far from the Gaza border.
Tell us about that Iranian plot to assassinate Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Netanyahu. What more do we know?
Well, we know, as Julie said in a report, an Israeli was actually taken twice into Iran to help set up possible assassination with Israeli leaders, presumably including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We know that Iran wants to do what they can to destroy Israel. That's sort of their raison d'etre, their reason for being is to destroy the Jewish state, kill Jews, and then literally see Israel as sort of their obstacle to try to take over the Middle East. So that's part of this plot that's been uncovered by the Shin Bet, and we expect that there's probably more. And so that's why there's internally vigilant here in Israel against any sort of these assassination plots.
And how about the deal for the hostages? Where does that stand? Is there a possibility of one?
Well, there is a possibility, and it's just been proposed, this idea that we could have the end of the war if Sinwar and his leadership, if they would leave Gaza, release all of the hostages in exchange for an end of hostilities. However, Israel would still be able to take security control over the Gaza Strip. This is Gil Hirsch, the mediator for Israel, is the one that has proposed this. We'll see what happens. It's still such a sore spot here in Israel. We were just at an event where there was an ambulance that was dedicated to Hirsch Goldberg Poland, probably the most well-known of all the hostages, Israeli-American. We've had her mother on CBN News before. It's really such a gut-wrenching thing, even almost a year after October 7th, where since Israelis are certainly like a family, they feel this so emotional and painful for all of Israelis to try to get those hostages out. Of
course, the big news here in New York was that United Nations vote against Israel. So what's the reaction there?
Well, the reaction here is I think they kind of anticipate this from the United Nations. They've been doing these kind of resolutions for decades. I don't think they take it very seriously, but in a sense that the nations are actually going to do anything physically. The Palestinians reacted saying Israel should do the right thing. But we know this is the biblical heartland of Israel, and the United Nations, as the prophet Zechariah said, one day would come against Israel. It seems like that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah, no pressure on Hezbollah there to do the right thing. Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you as always for your insights. Stay safe, Chris, and please be assured that people are praying for you and our staff there in Israel. God bless. Here at home, loans for homes, cars, and more should be cheaper soon after the Federal Reserve cut its benchmark interest rate by 0.5 point on Wednesday. They're hoping to keep the economy stable and avoid a recession. And Dale Hurd has that story.
The Federal Reserve has delivered the biggest interest rate cut in 16 years, and it's a sign the central bank believes the U.S. has turned the corner on inflation.
The U.S. economy is in good shape. It's growing at a solid pace. Inflation is coming down. The labor market is in a strong pace. We want to keep it there.
The move lowers the benchmark federal funds rate to between 4.75% and 5%. It's the first interest rate cut in years and is welcome news to families like the Warrens, who have been trying to pay off over $15,000 in credit card debt.
A reduction in interest is actually really kind of a breath of fresh air because I feel like we can never get ahead. I just feel like this is going to help make a bigger dent in getting back on track.
And it's hopeful news for many first-time home buyers who have been sidelined by high mortgage rates, like Kate Pesca, who hopes to get more house for her money.
With mortgage rates going down, I'm excited for an opportunity to open some doors to some properties that I did not originally foresee as possible.
The cut is an attempt to bring about a soft landing for the U.S. economy and prevent the Fed's previous sharp rises in rates from tipping the economy into recession. The Fed will meet again in November and December after the election, and analysts say it could cut interest rates again, with more cuts ahead in the next 2 years. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Coming up, politicians in Washington actually coming together to protect children from the dangers they can encounter online. We'll show you what's being done when we come back. For years, CBN News has been reporting on the dangers of the internet and how it can, what the dangers can pose to children. Now it appears Congress is trying to do something about that. Lori Johnson brings us the story.
In this heated election season, protecting kids online is one of the few issues that can bring politicians together. Before the August break, senators from both sides of the aisle agreed overwhelmingly 91-3 to pass legislation shielding kids from the rampant, well-documented harm they suffer from time spent online.
The Kids Online Safety Act requires social media companies to better protect underage users, as well as giving parents more control over their kids' social media use.
These bills will provide the appropriate guardrails necessary to protect kids against online threats.
Threats such as predators posing as other children and algorithms linked to a practice called doom scrolling.
We've heard stories about kids who were going through a depressed episode and all of a sudden they were getting fed content that was encouraging them to take their own lives.
A new study shows social media causes 1 in 3 young people to feel like they have to be perfect, with girls scoring much higher than boys, especially in the area of body image.
Especially with all of the filtering that has been happening and all the apps that you can now use to, make yourself look like a completely different person.
A Facebook product manager turned whistleblower testified the company hides evidence their content harms kids.
So Facebook knows that they are leading young users to anorexia.
Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, stopped short of endorsing the Senate bill, while Snap, X, and Microsoft are supporting the safeguards. In addition to the mental health dangers associated with kids' online use, Christian leaders say spiritual health is also on the line.
I think most children will start walking away from their faith when they get their smartphones and they get social media, because it's teaching them such a different worldview of different than the Bible.
The House is expected to take up the measure when they return from their August recess. In the meantime, experts recommend parents take steps to minimize their child's phone use and maximize in-person relationships.
We're making sure that they're getting together. They're having that face-to-face. They're not feeling isolated because they're still in real, authentic relationships. What we had when we grew up.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Still ahead, it sounds like something out of science fiction. The connection between modern events, including a populist president and Nikola Tesla, and 3 novels written well over a century ago. We'll hear from the author of a new book called The Trump Code right after this. Nikola Tesla, political chaos, a populist president, and a little time-traveling boy named Barron. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, Pulitzer Prize-nominated journalist Troy Anderson discusses his new book, The Trump Code. He tells of an eerie prophetic connection between modern-day events and 3 novels written more than 130 years ago.
These novels, the Barron Trump collection, are very intriguing. The picture on the cover of these books written in the 1890s is of a little boy, and he looks strikingly like President Trump's son, Barron, and they're, the same name, but just extra R. And he goes on these time traveling adventures with his uncle Don, the master of all masters, and they had this grand time. But what's really caught in people's attention is this last book in this series, The Last President, where it says that these anarchists and socialists converge on Castle Trump in New York City, where Trump Tower now stands today, chanting death to the rich man after the election of this populist president. And so there's been articles in Newsweek and Politico asking, could this novel be prophetic in nature, sort of like George Orwell's 1984?
Well, you mention in the book how God can use an author of fiction to write prophetic words, and you detail prophecies about Donald Trump, like the one in 2007, from South African Kim Clement. He said Trump would be at the helm for about 2 years. So some people would say that's just wishful thinking on the part of Trump supporters. So what do you believe about the Trump prophecies? Should we be cautious, skeptical?
Yeah, these prophecies by Ken Clement and others, he predicted that Trump would have 2 terms. And now in these Lockwood novels, it talks about this last president, and perhaps it foresees that President Trump is, elected to a second term here. Only time will tell, but, can God speak to people through this nature? We know that throughout the Bible, God showed all these prophets the future. The Apostle John was shown the events of the book of Revelation. You have that Mount of Transfiguration event where Jesus is there, joined by Moses and Elijah. How did that happen? Were they brought from heaven, or were they brought from the past into the future? So this is a great mystery of time and prophecy, and so we explore that in the Trump Code.
Well, I want to ask you more about that in a moment, but I know that Albert Einstein suggested that Nikola Tesla was a greater genius than him, and in your book you write that Donald Trump's uncle, MIT scientist John Trump, had access to Tesla's research and his files. So why was that, and what did he discover?
Yeah, this is one of the most surprising things we talked about in the Trump Code, is that when Tesla, this genius inventor, died in 1943, the FBI called in President Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump, a highly respected professor at MIT, to look through all these papers. And of course, he had stuff on some potential time travel and all kinds of things that perhaps have become, modern technologies or electric grids based off his inventions. And so then there was a bunch of files went missing. And so the History Channel just did a special on the missing files of Tesla. And the speculation is that the government's used these genius ideas of Tesla to invent all kinds of, potentially top secret weaponry and technologies over the decades. So it's an intriguing, connection to the Donald Trump's family.
You also write about the possibility of time travel. You contend that God gave Moses, Elijah, Ezekiel, other prophets, glimpses of the future. Weren't those dreams or prophetic visions rather than actual time travel?
Yeah, and most of the cases in the Bible is, God is showing dreams, or he's speaking directly and showing them the future. So, we know that God's outside of space and time, and he knows the end from the beginning. But there is that intriguing story about the Mount of Transfiguration. He is shining like the sun. If you go back and look at Moses on Mount Sinai, he's also shining. When he comes down off the mountain, they put a veil on his face. So did Jesus bring him from the past to the Mount of Transfiguration? Same thing of Elijah. We don't know for sure, but these are intriguing questions that we explore in the Trump Code.
Yeah, I think most people would say it's just the glory of the Lord that shined on their faces. You devote a chapter in the book to artificial intelligence. If we're truly entering the biblical end times, what role does AI play?
Yeah, so, for the last 15 years, I've been investigating, are we really moving into these end time events the Bible talks about? And today, for the first time in history, with artificial intelligence, implants, computer chip implants, electronic banking, we could actually have this mark of the beast system for the first time in history. And now we have artificial intelligence. There's that interesting verse in Revelation about the image of the beast. So could that be a reference to artificial intelligence? We don't know for sure, but, there's push for cashless society, the total surveillance state. So all these new technologies may fulfill what, the Apostle John wrote about 2,000 years ago in the book of Revelation.
The book is The Trump Code, exploring time travel, Nikola Tesla, the Trump lineage, and America's future. Troy Anderson, thank you for sharing your insights. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Also on this week's episode of The Global Lane, exploding pagers and troop mobilizations as Israel prepares for a bigger battle against Hezbollah. And 4 years after the Abraham Accords, is the peace process between Arabs and Jews dead or on life support? You can see it all on The Global Lane tonight on the CBN News Channel at 8 Eastern. You can also see it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Well, coming up, twins celebrating a special birthday because they're over 100 years old. We'll bring you their story when we come back.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning, the CBN News Quick Start Podcast. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m., get quick highlights of the day's important news. Then an in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Insights that matter to people of faith. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Find the CBN News Quick Start Podcast on iTunes or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts, because truth matters.
Finally today, a dynamic duo from Toledo, Ohio marked a rare milestone. And what's even more rare is they did it together. Marilyn Wright and Madeline Casper are identical twin sisters, recently celebrating their 102nd birthday together. The sisters were joined by their combined 13 children to mark the occasion. Known as the Johnson twins, the pair has always been on the same wavelength, sharing a joint birthday message from the heart.
Be kind to your neighbor. Just show kindness. Don't hate. The word hate should be out of the dictionary.
And the message holds a special meaning for their children. Well, that's it today for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, which is formerly known as Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.